Dale Finucane has announced his retirement effective immediately on medical advice due to repeated concussions. The two-time premiership winner goes down as one of our toughest competitors, an inspirational leader and a respected voice in the game.
I'm announcing my medical retirement today. I guess over the last couple of weeks we've gone through the process of seeing a number of neurologists and neuropsychologists around the issues I've had with concussion.
Here's Eastwood. We'll just take them on. Steps past the first man. Gives it to Finucane. Smith. He gives it to Finucane. A crash ball from close range.
You know, we've had some wonderful players at our club, wonderful competitors, but we haven't had anyone that prepares for a game like Dale. As we all see out on the field, you know, that we haven't had a better competitor in our club either. He's given our club, you know, more than we could have given him.
We take our focus over to Cronulla, to Dale Finucane, a boy from Bega, who tonight hits the 250-game milestone. What a warrior he has been.
It's a symbol of success in a lot of ways. It's a symbol of someone that gets the very best out of themselves every time they turn up, whether that be a training session, and he's even strapped for his video sessions. He's got his arms all strapped up. He's such a great man, wonderful man and selfless man as well. So I think our club will, they'll never forget his time here.
Yes, what a player and what a human being. Let's cross live now to Dale. Dale, congratulations first off on an amazing career. You've been an inspiration to all of us. How are you feeling? It's kind of happened quite suddenly. I suppose I can imagine it's been quite emotional. How are you and the family, bud?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Like you say, I feel quite surreal at the moment. I really can't put into words. The whole process has been quite, stringent, what I've done, and speaking to neurologists and neuropsychologists, and obviously we've landed here over the last few weeks, but it's for the best for the family and for life moving forward.
Dale, we'll get to obviously the diagnosis in a moment, but I just want to ask you that the overwhelming theme of everybody that speaks to you is how much you've given them and how special you are to them and how much you mean to them. How does it make you feel when you hear that and you see the likes of Craig Fitzgibbon and Craig Bellamy speak about you like that and know that all your teammates that you play with have similar thoughts?
Yeah, it is extremely humbling, because I value their opinions so much and, the type of people that they are. So it does mean a great deal to me, particularly because of the type of people that they are.
Dale, Dave, Ricky, mate, just take us to that moment where you spoke about today in the press conference. Craig Fitzgibbon comes to your house to have a discussion with both yourself and your wife. What was the catalyst of that? And take us into what that made you feel. You spoke today about how not every coach in the game would do that.
Yeah, I think he just puts the person ahead of the player, and he just wanted to make my wife feel a lot more comfortable about what was going on in that process, because at that stage we didn't know what I was going to do. We just knew that I wasn't going to be continuing to play until we went through and saw all the neurologists, all the neuropsychologists, and came to a conclusion. So just for the fact that he came over just to appease my wife's mind and appease my mind as well, just to let me know that there was no pressure and it wasn't a timely thing, and just really appreciate what he's done for our family.
Dale, Brent Reid, mate. Can you take us back to the moment when the doctors have said to you, Dale, we think it's best, and I assume this is the way it was delivered, we think it's best that you retire. When you hear that and are told that, what goes through your mind? Yeah,
it was really surreal, and I got two independent opinions from two different neurologists, and there was two neuropsychologists along the process as well, and who all came to the same conclusion. And I think if anything, it made the decision that bit easier because everyone was so definitive in their decision. And to be fair, it wasn't really a decision in the end. It was kind of made for me, and I think that I needed to have the decision almost taken away from me. Otherwise, if it was a choice, it would have been too hard to make that.
So just on that then, Dale, without wanting to pry too deeply into your medical diagnosis, what was the concern that they saw that they said to you, you must retire immediately?
Yeah, so obviously it's interesting because I haven't been typically symptomatic like the other players who've retired in the past have been, and for me it was obviously the number that came into it. I was up over into the double figures of occurrences of concussion, and the fact that I'd had a handful of them and clusters close together. I think in 2021, before I left Melbourne, I'd had 2 in close succession. In 2022, my first year at the Sharks, I had 2 within the month, and it was probably thankful that I did my MCL in that same time, that I was allowed a little more time off. And I only played 13 games last year, but obviously I've had one to start this season, and I just think the cluster of them being in such close succession, and the number that I've had, that it was pretty definitive in their conclusion.
Dale, it's become a bit of a debate across all sort of contact sports, this concussion issue. Do you think the game's handling it well? How do you think rugby leagues are handling the whole concussion debate?
Yeah, it's hard because I'm not a doctor as well, and there's no magic number for a return to play protocol. We've obviously, with the evidence that we've got, it's 11-day return to play protocol. Prior to that, it used to be 6 days, so it's obviously moving to be a little bit more conservative. But I don't have the answers in terms of what the correct number is for return to play. But obviously the NRL is doing everything that they can to be as well informed as they can to be given the right advice.
Well, congratulations, Dale. Thanks for joining us. I actually saw Nico Hines comment today and say that you epitomise the player that everyone wants to play with, and as someone who's played the game, that's a lot of respect from not only him, but I think it's echoed throughout every player that you've played with, mate. So that's an honour in itself. So we've loved watching you, and I'm sure we'll see you around the Fox League hallways very soon.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good on you. Dale Finucane, what a legend. As I said earlier, inspirational, an absolute warrior, a beast of a player. And again, the player that simply everyone wanted to play with, and unfortunately career cut a little bit shorter than what he would have liked. But what a player he's been.
He's a standard setter. That's the way he's been explained down at the Sharks. He's shifted the culture of that footy club. One player, Dale Finucane, has shifted that culture of the club. And I think we're seeing the fruits of what Dale brought to that club, despite the fact he did miss some games. I think we're seeing the fruits of it. The Sharks are leading the premiership through a pack that I don't think a lot of people rate, the likes of Tom Hazelton, Oregon Kaufusi, Teague Wilton, Blake Brayley, and a very underrated pack, but it's the standards of which that bloke had set for these young players, of which they're getting the fruits from now. I
think he just squeezed every bit of juice out the lemon. Every time he played, Dale, he never left left anything in the tank. He gave everything every time he played, and that's I think the hallmark of Dale as a footballer.
Yeah, an amazing career, but ultimately cut short, Kenty, because of concussion, which has been a concern now for a long period of time in our game. Yeah. And you've written an article on it tomorrow.
Well, look, my concern with the game is this. Look, many years ago, an NFL player retired mid-career because of concussions. Everyone thought, wow, that's crazy. But we're seeing it increasingly, Braith. It's bringing an end to football careers here in Australia and also overseas. Now, the NRL's got various concussion protocols. This is basically what I've written tomorrow. And a lot of it is that, there's an independent doctor on the sideline. He looks for players who've shown signs of a concussion, who are wobbly, slow to get up, those sorts of things. Once they go off, they go get HIA. They get assessed in the dressing room. If they're deemed okay, they can get back on the field. If not, they've got to stay off the field. If they have to stay off the field, then they get to 11-day stand down. But it's all post-concussion stuff. The concussion has already happened by the time all of this is happening. And I think at some point it's critical, because at one point, if we're not careful, the game will either be run by lawyers or ruined by lawyers. That's where the game is heading if we just keep going down this track. Now let's backtrack 15, 20 years longer. I don't believe we saw anywhere near as many concussions then as we do now, because tackling styles have changed. So I think we've got to get ahead of the concussion rather than behind it. And rather than all this stuff after you've been knocked out, let's try and bring in and actually try and, through stiff sanctions, try and change the way that teams are tackling these days, which are leading to so many of these concussions. It's often the tackler that's getting knocked out these days because of the technique that they're employing. We need to start looking at ways to change this. There are ways to do it. It's going to take some courage from the NRL to do it. But if we don't do it, then we're just going to go down this track one day where the lawyers are going to step in and go, you know what? We've got a big issue.